From the Smith Center in Chapel Hill, this is TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, and alongside me, as he usually is, THI publisher Andrew Jones. We're here on a Thursday. Press conference is usually on Friday, but the Carolina-Duke press conference is always 2 days before the game. Obviously, Carolina playing Duke here in the Smith Center on Saturday. AJ, it's the Carolina-Duke rivalry. It's what it is. We got to talk to Roy Williams. We got to talk to all 5 players out on the Smith Center court about maybe an hour and a half ago. Like I mentioned, it's the Carolina-Duke rivalry. That's what it is. It's always going to have an allure about it. But it feels a little bit different this year, obviously. I mean, you've got a Carolina team struggling, 10-12, coming off another back-to-back losses down in Tallahassee. We can talk about that game as much. You can go watch Andrew's post-game video that he did down there because he was obviously down there by himself. But, AJ, it feels a little bit different. There's obviously an allure about it, like I mentioned. But when you look at how the contrast of both teams, the rare, just bad season Carolina's having, one of the worst in program history, just feels a lot different going in this game than it usually does.
They're usually going the same pace in the same direction.
Not this year.
Vying for the same things. This game usually means a lot more than just bragging rights. It's for jockeying in the ACC. Often, first weekend site in the NCAA tournament is in North Carolina or very close, so they're playing for that. Sometimes they both get it. Sometimes just one of them gets it, especially with the recent emergence of Virginia. They've been able to play close to Charlottesville a lot. But that's not on the table in this game, so what are they playing for? It's interesting. The great Bob Sutton, and I emphasize great.
I love how we shouted Bob out. I love Bob.
The great Bob Sutton asked Roy today, is it the same celebration that it usually is? Because this rivalry is, I think it's the best in American sports.
I think it is too, yeah.
You can argue about the other ones out there. This isn't a video about that, but I think it is that. But it embodies the best elements of college basketball because it's a game that people that don't watch a lot of college basketball pay attention
they
to.
Still
the
know,
ratings, the ratings back it up and everything else.
Yeah.
The interest levels off the charts. The media that's going to be here Saturday is going to be a lot more than usual games, and there's always a lot here for UNC. Roy said, "Well, you know what? Yeah, I mean it's Duke Carolina, but we're worried about getting better." And I think that what's so different about this is that in UNC's case, at 10-12, and they're reintegrating Cole Anthony back in the lineup, but suddenly they don't have Brandon Robinson. They've been in flux all year long, and they're still in flux. And for them, it's just about getting better one day to the next. This happens to be the next game that's in front of them, and it's a great opportunity because if they are to make something of this season and make some kind of amazing push toward the NCAA tournament, it's an absolute must-win. But I think more important than winning right now is this team just needs to play well.
Yeah, they got to play well.
They need to get more comfortable with Cole out there. He needs to get more comfortable with them. They need to do the things that Roy keeps harping on: move on offense, box out on defense, or on rebounding and all that kind of stuff. And they just need to get better. So, yeah, it's Duke Carolina, and we're going to hit on a little bit of that a little bit later. But for the Tar Heels, far more than just we've got to beat Duke and the intensity that goes into that kind of mental preparation. They just have to get better.
Absolutely.
Right now it's just about getting better. If they do that, they do that Saturday night during the course of the game, they'll put themselves in a position to be competitive late.
AJ, you touched on integrating Cole Anthony back into the lineup. Obviously, since he's came back against Boston College last week and then played against Florida State. He's been back 2 games. Carolina's lost both of those. One in the Smith Center against Boston College, obviously one down in Tallahassee, like I mentioned earlier. It's been a little bit of a struggle. He obviously took that loss against Florida State. I don't know if you've seen the post-game interview. If you haven't, be sure to go down to our channel and check it out. You can watch it, but never really seen a post-game interview. You can tell how hard he's taken these losses, specifically that Florida State loss, where he had his head down the whole press conference, then lifted up one time, still gave good answers, but you could just kind of tell how much he's putting the blame on himself right now. Carolina, we talked a little bit about today, talked to Roy, talked to some of the players about kind of integrating Cole Anthony back into the lineup. I know you talked to Leaky Black, and he kind of talked about how he gets used to playing point guard and finally starts playing well, feeling a little bit healthier, and then he has to move back to another position. He's not playing point guard as much with Cole in here now. So this team is actively working on getting comfortable playing with Cole Anthony because he was out for nearly 7 weeks. And I think right now, based on what we've seen, I would say it's still a major work in progress. It's going to be interesting to see how he plays and how this team plays with him back in against Duke.
This season for this team has almost been like them going through a massive maze.
It's been unbelievable.
It's like going through a maze where you get comfortable heading that direction. Suddenly there's a wall and you got to go that way. Then you got to veer off that way. And
it's definitely not been a straight line.
They've never been able to get any kind of continuity within just whoever's available on the bench. Roy turns to look to the bench to put somebody in, and he might be thinking of a guy who's now in street clothes, or it might be thinking, well, I'm not going to think of this guy who's been out for a while. And also, no, he's in uniform.
He can play,
I can use this guy today.
Been a while.
So it's been very, very difficult for them in so many fronts. But I think in fairness to Cole, and I know Cole's getting a lot of criticism out there, and I think a lot of it is unfair. I think it is fair to say, okay, these guys performed this way in the few games before he came back, and now they're performing like this. Ask the question, why? Cole was 5 for 22 the other night, missed his last 12 shots. He took some very questionable shots during that stretch. Whether he's Cole Anthony or anybody else, they were questionable shots. You could see that he was very frustrated. It was visible. And in the locker room, when I walked in there, and he was the only player still in uniform, and he was visibly upset. And we kind of gave him a few minutes. We talked to Garrison first. When I say we, a couple of other members of the media. Then we went and talked to Cole. He never looked up, and he was really taking it hard. He was taking it on himself. He said a lot of the things that if you're a Carolina fan, you want to hear him say. Stuff like, I need to respect my teammates more. I need to do this better. I need to do that better. And I believe it was genuine. But the process between then and Saturday night and moving forward is he's identified some of these things. Now you got to fix them.
You got to fix them.
And it takes time, especially when you have no idea who's going to be available from one game to the next. So the criticism of Cole, a little bit of it's understood. I think a lot of it is kind of unfair, and I think a lot of it comes from emotion that fans have. They thought, wow, the team's starting to play better. They're 10-10. They get Cole back. This could be a Kemba Walker-like run. The Tar Heels, Cole will lead the Tar Heels to something special in a very down year for college basketball. Well, it hadn't happened.
No.
And to expect a guy after missing 2 months who plays the most important position on the court to come in and have that kind of effect on the team, to anticipate it being possible is one thing, like we did.
We talked about it.
To expect it and then condemn when it doesn't happen is something entirely different. I don't think that's very fair. Let's give it some more time. I really thought that, and I told some people afterward, that what he said the other night was very encouraging. He's 19 years old. He's got to identify some of these things before they can be fixed, just like we've had to do in our lives in so many different areas. So let's see what happens Saturday night. I think it's a bigger adjustment for Cole coming back and having to play with a group of players that started to kind of identify their roles than it is for those guys to adjust to one dude coming back and just kind of changing things up. Because Roy even has acknowledged the shots are a little bit different. The players are saying the shots are a little bit different. Last Saturday after the loss to BC, Armando Bacot and Andrew Platek both said that they found themselves watching him at times. So this is a process, and unfortunately for UNC, it's February.
Yeah, they're kind of running out of
time. And they lost not just 2 months of games, but practice. And that important practice period after Christmas, when there's no classes, and there's 2 days, that's an important part of the season that Cole missed. So they're way behind, and they're trying to catch up and get better quickly. And now they got to do it with coming off 2 really tough losses.
Yeah, play Duke now.
With Duke in the building. Trey Jones against Cole Anthony.
It'll be fun to watch.
And if Cole gets past him, he's got Vernon Carey there.
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier.
It's going to be really interesting just to see how Cole handles this game, how he performs, and how his teammates respond now.
Well, I know, AJ, we've talked about Carolina's up and down season, all the injuries, Cole Anthony not playing as well as some people may have expected when he comes back. But Saturday's game here in the Swiss, it's still Carolina-Duke. I mean, it doesn't matter what both teams' records are like. It's still Carolina-Duke. I know it's cliche to say, but you kind of expect both teams' records to kind of go out the window when they meet. I know a lot of people say that about rivalry games. Sometimes it has happened in the past, and then we've seen some pretty bad Carolina teams, get handled by Duke. So it's going to be interesting to see how this game pans out. But AJ, like I mentioned, it's still Carolina-Duke. It's still a fun one to watch, and there's still going to be a lot of buzz, a lot of energy around this game.
There's not a lot of examples of these two teams playing when one is demonstrably better than the other. 1995 is the most famous one when Carolina was, I don't know if what they were ranked in the top 3. The famous Jeff Capel shot game, Stackhouse with reverse dunk. They show it in the video board here all the time. Wallace's alley-oop dunk. Carolina got to a huge lead in Cameron, and then Duke fought back in a game with a couple overtimes. That's the most famous one. But Carolina was unranked here a few years ago, 2014 I believe it was, and beat Duke. I think Duke was in the top 3 at the time. So something like that could happen in this game. I do agree with the throwing out the records thing. It's sort of a trite
it's kind of a cliche thing to say.
But at the same time, when stuff matters and emotions become a part of the game itself, and it doesn't always happen in a lot of games, then that stuff actually can be a component to either success or failure on a given night when in this rivalry. So I think the thing that's going to be really interesting is that, yes, it's Duke, North Carolina, and it should look like Duke, North Carolina, but in the press room before coming out here to do this video, we're seeing some stuff that UNC is tweeting out about uniforms.
Oh, the jerseys, man.
And apparently we're going to be dealing with some horrible uniforms, so it's not even going to look like Duke Carolina.
I'm not a fan either.
the block NC all blue for Carolina, the all blue for Duke with the Duke D. To me, these are two of the most most iconic uniforms in American sports.
They just messed them up.
I've covered so many games with these guys before, and when they play each other, same thing like what I've covered Carolina versus UCLA or Kentucky. In fact, the UCLA game in Vegas, what did I tweet out there? I said, this is a great laundry game.
Yeah.
Duke at Carolina is a great laundry game, and apparently they're going to screw up the laundry Saturday night.
I agree.
So it's Duke Carolina.
Yeah,
it's exciting. The building's going to be a buzz. It's going to be an experience that these kids are going to be able to have that nobody else in college basketball experiences. No matter how good the other rivalries are. You could take Louisville and Kentucky. I know it's nice, but they play it in December on the afternoon.
Yeah, it's like whatever.
Whatever. This is the rivalry. I'm not dissing that rivalry.
No, it's just
a fantastic rivalry, but it's not this. This is unique. This is different. And Saturday night will be fun, at least for that. Although I'm going to have to squint a little bit because I don't know if I want to see that kind of crap on the kids.
See, let me just before we end this video, my two biggest the things I don't like about him is why is Carolina wearing Carolina blue at home? I don't like that, and the big logo. For both.
They've worn Carolina blue in this building once before, and the ACC Big Ten Challenge way back in, I think it was 1991.
They should have never done it again.
Everybody at home wore their road uniforms, and the road teams wore their home uniforms. They played UConn in this building, and they wore the Carolina blue. That's the only time. But it's a trend around college basketball now. A lot of teams are wearing their dark uniforms at home, and other teams are wearing. Michigan will wear yellow on the road. That means everybody can wear their dark uniforms.
Exactly.
Not a big fan. Go traditional. You have iconic brands and looks. Roll with it. That's part of what sells.
Absolutely. For TarIllustrated.com, I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. We'll obviously be here on Saturday for Carolina's matchup with Duke. That's a 6 p.m. game. Going to be a fun one. It's going to be fun to see how things kind of play out. Like I said, I know it's not been a great year for Carolina, but still Carolina Duke is going to be fun to watch. So
they can salvage something.
Yeah, you never know, man.
They may not make the tournament, but they get Duke one time. I think people will be fairly okay with that.
I know Carolina's going to be underdog, but like I say this a lot to you, AJ. I mean, that's why they play the game. You just never know what's going to happen. So, guys, thanks for watching.
This is a cliche video, by the way.
We have to drop
about a dozen cliches in this video.
I had to drop a few today, but thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to like this video. Be sure to share it if you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys on Saturday. Thanks.